What's up, what's up, what's up? This is Xavier McGilberry with the Urban Professional Podcast. I have a dope guest today. She is the president of Dallas, Texas, Oak Cliff Chamber of Commerce. Not only does she help kids and adults get a skill set, but she placed them in jobs. She is Rolling Out magazine, one of the most influential people in Dallas, Texas. Welcome, Kiyundra Jones. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful.
It's a pleasure. I'm so honored to have you here,
goodness.
man. Thank you so much. No, for real, I'm super duper excited.
Me too.
She's a friend. She's a counselor. I think we vent together.
Yes, that's right.
So today we're gonna have some dope conversations. I want to talk to you. I want to just dig into some things to give people some perspective because, you know, on the Urban Professional Podcast, we want to enlighten people. We want people to leave better than they came. Right?
First of all, if I could just say this, so we're just gonna have a conversation. I'm looking forward to it. I just want to say how honored I am to be here and how proud I am of you, dear friend, for just doing this and for speaking to this community of people. We've talked about it for a long time, so congratulations to you for being here.
Thank you so much. But we've often talked about, man, professionals need a safe place.
That's right.
Like we need a place that is safe, like.
That's exactly
right. We
right.
need to build that. You know, we've talked about that. We're gonna get together though. We're gonna figure out like.
That's exactly right.
Plan.
It is very, very difficult being in these positions and not having an outlet.
Totally agree.
So yes.
So we just go in the bathroom and scream sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Or you call me and you be. You know,
all of the above.
Cursing.
Yeah. That and then some.
And I have to talk you off the edge. You do the same for me.
A few times.
Well, let's jump in, man. Let's talk. Question for you.
Okay.
We've had this conversation before. Men.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Professional men.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts on, it's a lot of saying now that there are no good men out there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the difference as far as the expectations that you think for your spouse versus your son?
Well, that's an interesting question. So candidly speaking, I don't have a son, but I do have an adult daughter. And I can speak from being a parent raising a child and a very productive daughter. Now, I disagree with there are no good men out there. I totally disagree with that. I don't really like blanket statements anyway, and that's definitely a generalization that I'd like to avoid. There are good men out there, but are the pickings slim? Absolutely. So I think that over time, our community specifically, the Black community has had some generational, I want to steer clear from the curses word, generational curses, but we've had generational problems that have contributed to our sons not growing up as men. Generational things have happened. Absentee fathers and our boys going to jail, you know, being over-policed. All of those things contribute to the lack of good, solid men. But are there good men out there? Absolutely.
Eric Thomas said something interesting when you said you go to jail, you gotta you don't have a father figure. He said, "Boy, you 30. Get over that. You're a man now. That happened when you was a boy." How do you feel about that?
I disagree with it. I
Why?
totally disagree with that. I believe that inside of each and every one of us, there is a screaming child that needs attention. I absolutely agree with the fact that that inner child needs therapy. I don't think it's a matter of just getting over it. And I think that's a lot of the problem with our Black men is we're telling y'all, get over it. Don't be vulnerable. Don't talk about it. And that's the problem. And so they do have to deal with that child that has been wounded.
I agree to disagree from a man perspective because vulnerability to me, like vulnerability is like talking about it, to me that is getting over it. What I mean by that is one side from a man perspective, one side, because when I talk about it, I need to move forward. Like human bodies are designed to move forward, right? That's why if you stand up, your feet face forward, your eyes are designed to look in front of you, your ears are meant to listen to a person in front of you. It's more difficult to look back than to look forward. So if you're looking back at what happened to you, how can you move forward?
Okay, so those are two different things. Yes, our bodies are physically and perfectly designed by the master, and so they are designed with purpose to move forward. However, if you're talking about an internal wounded child, if a man has been sexually abused when he was a kid, if he is not equipped to move forward, how can he? And so what I'm saying is there are some wounded men out there, a lot of especially Black wounded men, that those internal children, there needs to be therapy. There needs to be tools provided so that that man can move forward in a productive way. So I believe that wounds need to be treated.
I'm not against that. I think that we're hitting on two different dynamics. Well, let me be a little more clear on what I say. I think that the accountability need to be there, and I totally agree with what you said with the counseling. But what's typically happening is there are resources out there to get these like the program you built, right? How often do we talk about like when once they have these tools, they still don't show, they still don't do this, and they make an excuse. I think that's more my point when I talk about the man moving forward. I absolutely agree with the portion about you saying, hey, you do need, you need to talk about it. You need to understand how to get over it. I'm an advocate for therapy. Me and Lyman talk about that all the time. Like I have a therapist, you know what I'm saying? And it's like rejuvenating and understanding who you are. But at the same time, I have to come out and I have responsibility and I have to move forward. So with that being said, would you have the same grace? I know you have a daughter. Would you have the same grace with your daughter dating someone? She say, Mom, because I hear you talk about your daughter now. She together. She tough. If my son wasn't married, yeah. But she's tough. She's got her stuff together. Kudos to you. Great job, Mom.
Thank you.
I know about the struggle that you had and the sacrifices you made, and you got the fruit of your labor. But how would you feel about her dating a man? Would you give him the same grace? Like you say, oh, baby, just allow him to grow, get him some counseling. You gonna do that with her?
No. Absolutely not.
You just gave me this Martin Luther King speech and you?
Absolutely. And I agree that a man, if you're wounded, if I'm wounded, it is my responsibility to make sure that my wound is treated. That's my responsibility. However, my daughter dating a man, it's not her responsibility to heal you or to heal your son. That's their responsibility.
Whose responsibility? Who is there?
So if that son or that man, whoever it is their responsibility to seek out the treatment that they need. It's not my daughter's responsibility to heal your son. And so when we're talking about dating, and my daughter is dating, and she's dating with purpose right now. These are the tools. We're dating with purpose, honey, because I want to be a grandparent at some time, some point.
Oh, my God.
We got 15 months until she's 30.
Oh, my God.
We got some milestones. But anyway, we're dating with purpose. And when she brings someone home to me, we ask the questions. We want to know, what is his relationship with his father? What is his relationship with his mother? What are those relationships? Because I want to make sure he is not transferring an unreasonable amount of those burdens or wounds or baggage onto my daughter with the expectation for her to fix him. That's not her job, to fix him. It is her job to build with him.
Point. I'm glad you said that. But that's exactly what I was meaning. Like I couldn't articulate it, but you just said it. That part when you say, you have to get to a certain point as a man, like you saying, hey, you should be here so we can build together. So that part that I'm talking about is these guys taking initiative, like you got to be a man to get there. And I don't think they have, as my granddaddy say, you can't teach want to. That's my granddaddy saying.
I love that.
So if they don't want to get there, that's a problem. And
Absolutely.
I think that's what Eric Thomas was talking about when he said he wasn't, I don't think his intention was to say, don't forget, because if you know his story, what he came from, I'm sure he had to have cancer. But what I'm saying is you have to want to, because you have to want to do better.
Absolutely.
And there's resources out here if you, well, you know, you got a program that if you want to help, there's programs out there to help you get it, but a lot of times they don't want it. And I agree with you. I have a daughter too, and I expect a man to be at a certain point. But with my son, I noticed my wife used to kind of have like these little grace for him, and my saying to her was always, "Would you let your daughter date him?"
And it's a big hell no.
Absolutely, that was
absolutely.
Her. She was absolutely. So I'm gonna tell you a funny story. So I used to get on my wife. She said, "You too hard on him. You too hard on him." That's what she always said about my son. She said, "You treat him different." I said, "Absolutely. It's a man and a woman, right?" So my wife had her reality check when it was probably he was here for a little while before he moved. He wasn't married. He was living with us, and it was about 11:30 at night. He was going to work, right? So I'm in the bed. You know, we go to bed early. So I'm good at sleep.
As do we.
And so she get a call. She wake me up. She said, "Babe, we got to go get Tyler." So I jumped straight up, feet on the floor. I'm like, "What's going on? What happened? He in a car wreck?" She said, "No, he got a flat."
Oh.
I said, "Huh?" She said, "No, he got a flat." I said, "Baby, he can change the flat." She said, "Ain't no spare." I said, "Baby, it's a spare in that car." She said, "No, he looked, ain't no spare." Get up, I'm mad. It's 11:30. I'm half asleep. Get up, put on clothes to go get him. He wasn't no more than about 5 minutes from the house. Get up the road. He's sitting out there on the tire. She get out the car. I go to the back, pop the trunk. My son didn't even know to pull the latch up with the carpet, that it was a spare tire underneath. At that moment, my wife cried.
Why?
Because all this teaching that you was Dennis Rodman blocking me on putting on him because you said I was too hard, something that simple made her realize, like, you know, he's 27. He don't know how to change a tire. So I went back to the question of, what if he was dating our daughter and they was going somewhere and that car broke down? And everybody know AAA might come tomorrow. So we can call AAA tonight, but they might come tomorrow.
As the mother of a daughter, and had that happened with your son, my advice to her would have been, do not ever call him again or take his calls. Because if your son, who is grown enough to be dating, everybody talking about, I'm grown, I'm a grown-ass man, I'm a grown-ass woman. Okay, you grown, change that tire. Let me tell you a very short story. My daughter in college, you know, they all want to smoke weed and be grown. You grown. She called me one night in the middle of the night, 3-something in the morning. You know, I'm good. I'm asleep. You know, I'm like you. I'm in the bed at 7:30.
I'm about to get up.
Listen, that was getting up time. She crying. She upset. In jail.
No.
For smoking weed on the college campus.
No.
I said, "Were you smoking?" She said, "Yeah." So what you want me to do? Because I'm not coming to get you. Here's the thing. We have to teach our children, be it male or female, accountability.
Absolutely.
And if you did that thing, you was rolling in that car, your tire is flat, now you be responsible for it. You was on that college campus and you was smoking weed. Who ain't getting up is me. I'm not getting up. And so I think that is what our community needs to learn as we're talking about raising children, period, and changing the course of where our children are headed. We need to talk about parental accountability. We need to make sure our children are held responsible or accountable for their own actions. That's what creates good, solid adults. You do a thing, you suffer the consequences. And so she had to sit her behind, her raggedy behind, and I love my baby. I've only had one, can't replace it. I love her, but you sit there because you did that.
Now, with that being said, right, let's go back to the part where you said I would have told my daughter not to call him.
Absolutely.
Let's fast forward. You said we're intentional. I want grandkids,
I do.
right? Okay. So Have you ever talked to your daughter, being her age, about love versus lust?
Yes.
What was that conversation like?
Absolutely.
Let me raise up for that
No,
one.
that's not a singular conversation. That is not.
Well, just you can highlight it for me.
Which area, because
I mean,
we
just
started talking about lust with girls when we're 12, 13, 14 years old. So, and my daughter is 28, about to be 29.
so
So,
what I'm saying, I can go back to college years and thinking the intentions are different from a male to a female,
sure.
right? So I could remember like love versus lust. What I mean is sometimes it seems like my experiences now that when they thought we loved them, we was really lusting for them,
Sure.
right? So how do you define that? Like, have you ever had to have conversations where you like, hey, I don't think he love you?
Oh, sure. Listen, let me tell you. Now, I'm a different kind of parent. I was a young parent. You know that. I don't know all the old school rules. All I know is what I did wrong, and I wanted to keep my daughter from doing what I did wrong. So our conversations were different. When my baby was leaving to go to school, I knew she had taken interest in boys in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Every day when she left out the door, I say, stay away from Dick.
Shut up.
I swear to God. Stay away from it. Stay away from it. And we made a joke out of it. Stay away from it. Stay away from it. Stay away from it.
So 6th grade, she already knew what
Absolutely, because they were giving head in the bathroom in 6th grade. She came home to me and asked me in the 6th grade, Mommy, what's giving head? So they were talking, but they were doing it at school now. So look, you have to have real conversations with your kids. So when you talk about lust and all of that other kind of stuff, we're having this in middle school. We're talking about this.
My knees just got weak.
You should be. With your girls, with your boys, you need to.
I think her mama had to have it. They ain't come tell me about no
You
head.
better talk about it. You better talk about it. So yes, are we having conversation? Did we have conversation? That boy don't want you. Girl, what does that look like? What does it look like when they actually love you? That's not that's not what love looks like. That's not a love symptom.
Oh, your conversation different. You know, let me rewind. You took me out with that, but let me tell you, my conversation was like PG, and they probably ran like the 48 fake on me.
No.
What I mean by that, I remember my daughter came home and she said, "Dad, I got a boyfriend." I said, "Oh yeah." She was about the same thing, about 5th, 6th grade. I said, "Oh yeah." She said, "Yeah." I said, "Good." She looked. She said, "What you mean?" I said, "What kind of grades he make?" She said, "I don't know." I said, "You an all-A student. He in honor class with you?" She said, "No." I said, "Okay." I said, "What you know about him?" She said, "Nothing." I said, "Oh, you just like him?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Good." That's okay. I said, "I'm happy." She said, "Why you happy, Daddy?" I said, "Because when you got a boyfriend, that's easy on me." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because you like to go to the movies in the mall. He can pick up that tab. That's what boyfriends do." So she looked. She came home the next day. She said, "Dad, I ain't got no boyfriend no more."
Oh, goodness.
I said, "Why not?"
What happened to him?
She said, "He can't take me to the movies. I still need your help."
Oh.
So I'm saying that was my conversation compared to yours. So I couldn't imagine as a father. You know, our conversations are different.
Yeah.
Like our conversations with our kid, our boys. Unfortunately, you know, we like, "Boy, how you moving? How many you got?" I mean, that's just the conversation. That's just,
and
we
so
like,
we
"What
have
you got?"
to be on the opposite end of that, making sure that how my daughter is moving is away from that.
Right.
And so when Kendra asks me or tells me, "Mommy, I like somebody," my question is, well, what do you like about him? Tell me what you like, because I don't want you to like him because he's cute and he smells good, because I believe anything can be cleaned up and dusted off. Okay, so tell me specifically what it is you like about him. And if you can't tell me nothing, baby, we don't like him.
See, y'all start early. Women so smart.
We don't like them.
See, y'all be talking way ahead.
What does his mom do?
We talking about the outfit tomorrow.
No, we're not, because that's
Little
superficial.
girl, y'all talking about the whole.
No,
that's why when we talk about marriage, y'all already got the book. Like, hey, the dress come from here, from there. Yeah,
absolutely.
I remember being in college. They was like, when you graduate, we like, we don't know. We take it day by day, baby.
Oh, goodness. Well.
Day by day.
No, well, the
I remember my counselor told me it was time to graduate. I was like, what am I supposed to do after this?
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So y'all prepare different. So
yeah, sure.
With the education component of it, let me ask you this. You've done a lot. And I notice you always talk about how you prepare your daughter for like the real world, and I can tell by your conversation that, you know, you're proud of her, which you should be, and she turned out well. So, which you've worked both sides, you've been corporate and entrepreneur, and I know from our conversation that she has an amazing job in corporate America. So, what is your view on corporate versus entrepreneurship?
What is my view?
Or your take on it? What's your preference and how do you feel about it?
What is my preference for myself versus would I prefer to be corporate or an entrepreneur? You know, I believe that even in corporate settings, you have to have an entrepreneur mindset. I don't think that. So I live by this school of thought. Corporate America is great if you want to establish stability. I believe that. But if you are hanging your hat on corporate America, living a decent life, I don't think that that should be the only thing that you're thinking about. I think that you need multiple streams of income, and I think that most corporate people tend to have an entrepreneur mindset, generating other streams of revenue outside of that.
But you know, I've had experiences as far as like we've talked about this. Sometimes the powers that may be in the corporate America structure don't like the fact that you thinking of another. You know, they want 1,000% of your time.
Sure.
And so how do you balance that? How do you? I mean, the reason I'm asking you because you kind of created an entrepreneur program within a corporate structure.
So I'm an out-of-the-box thinker, and I usually don't care what people think. And so when you say they usually don't like for you to do a thing, I usually don't care. But I usually don't. And I will challenge that because what I do on Kiyndra's time is no one's business. But I don't put corporate America in my business. And so I think that's the difference. We have to have very clear boundaries. When we're talking about corporate America, we have to remember, first of all, people that don't look like us are very nosy. And they like to be in our business. But the only way they can be in our business is if we put them in it. So I don't put corporate America in my business. And what I do on Kiyndra's time ain't their business. So that's how I approach it. I make sure that my boundaries are clear with everyone, and I do what I want to on my own time.
That sounds good, but you know, one of the things from my experience is, and I try to teach my kids this, and unfortunately, the social media component is something that allows them to see that private side. But you've talked about this too. Like they say, what you do on your time is your time, but it's certain things for your character that can be done on social media on your own time that will be held against you in the corporate structure.
Absolutely.
So with you having a daughter who's rising up in that corporate scale, have you had that conversation with her? Like, you know, hey, I know they say this your own time. How do you balance that? Because they'll come back and hope. And I can give you an example from when I worked for a certain company, they're corporate. When a person came and applied for a certain level, our HR first move was to pour their social media.
So I'm gonna give you two different perspectives. So let's talk about my daughter first, who is in corporate America. So I had an fortunate occurrence with my daughter. When she was in high school, so we lived in Florida most of her formative years, and then we moved here. Later on, she was in private school and all this other kind of stuff. Well, when we moved to Texas, my daughter went to one of the schools here in Dallas, and unfortunately, because she wasn't used to the culture, she got bullied. You know, here she is, she's coming in and all her peppiness and preppiness and all the stuff. And she quickly became, you know, she was a new girl. So she was popular very, very quickly. And some of the other girls did not like that very much. And so she was cyberbullied. And I was unfamiliar with the term at the time. Things got out of control. There were police reports filed. But anyway, there were death threats and all kinds of things toward my daughter. And because of those things, and I say it's unfortunate, because of those things, my daughter does not have a social media. And so
Wow.
I've never had a problem since she was in high school with social media, and it has really helped.
Was that her choice, or did you?
It was her choice.
See, that's good.
It was her choice. So it was unfortunate because she was bullied to the point that she found no value in it after that.
See, I thought I was losing my mind when I know I'm old school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had the floppy disk.
Right.
You know, and the virus got on it. You couldn't.
So
I know I'm behind, but when I used to hear the word like cyberbully, I feel like I sound like my grandma and my granddad. I'm like, turn the computer off. Like I couldn't comprehend that. Like I couldn't. I know that sounds shallow. I couldn't comprehend like I gotta get on here and I know they finna, because me, let's take it back old school. Bullying was actually bullying, like the bus stop, the bathroom in the school.
Sure.
So with us, you run fast, you learn how to fight, or you avoid those places, right?
Sure.
So with bathroom, you might go all the way down the hall this way because you know what they doing in this bathroom. The bus stop, either you go to another bus stop, or you gonna walk to school, because now wasn't no come back in saying Mr. Bus.
Sure.
Not with Miss Cheryl Denise.
So with cyberbullying, and again, I was unfamiliar with it when it happened. I mean, this has now been 10 plus years ago. But what happens is they can even create all these pages that hate you. And so you have bullies that don't have faces. So she would literally go to school and not know.
Educating.
She wouldn't know who's saying all of these things in these rooms. Deep. And so what you're talking about is, you go to the bathroom. I know she don't like me. So I know, hey, we fixing to, we're gonna take care of our business. But the thing is, the worst enemy is the enemy you don't know. Absolutely. You can't see, the one that doesn't have a face. Absolutely. They're invisible. And so they were getting in all of these spaces and places talking about, she thinks she all of that, she thinks she cute. You know how they do. So, so after we overcame that and the trauma behind all of that and the therapy that comes with that, we didn't have a problem. We still to this day do not have a problem with social media. But from an employer standpoint, from an employer standpoint, it's a different perspective altogether. So I do typically take a look at potential employees before I hire them.
And what are you looking for?
Things that do not represent my organization well. And I have dodged several bullets.
What do you mean? Because I thought that was their time, though.
No. So, and it is their time, but I reserve the right to allow you to come into my space if you handle your life in a way that is not in line with how I want my business viewed. For instance, I recently learned a term.
Give it to me.
OnlyFans. So I take it you know what that is, because I did not.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so I just learned what it was because of this exercise. I am a chamber of commerce. And so from a business, and you're on my board of directors.
Yes.
Okay. So as a board of director whose fiduciary responsibility is this organization, would you want someone who's on their own time to be showing their butt naked ass on OnlyFans and represent our Chamber of Commerce? So because I did catch it, we are not going to offer up this candidate an opportunity to be associated with this organization.
I agree with that. I think that's still hitting the point of, I guess that's the point I was trying to make, like when I say you have to be careful on that side, because it's also in the preference of who's making that decision. Now, I think for me knowing you, it's that's I totally understand. That's extreme, like you say, represent the brand. But you have some people that are shallow who it doesn't take something that extreme,
sure.
For them to still hold your foot to the fire to those same things. Like I don't want Kiyundra representing this organization because of something that is not as catastrophic as, your butt out on the fans only. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they have their preference up, and they still holding.
You showing your age. You said fans only. It's only fans.
Only fans, whatever.
Only fans.
I mean, I ain't getting on it. I'm
only
happily
fans.
married, everybody.
It's only fans.
Yeah, whatever it is, I'm not getting on. So you know I don't know what it is. Baby, I don't know what it is. Baby, I don't know what it is. So yeah, so I just think that people, I think it's smoke and mirrors in a sense. I think people, whether they say it or not, they go there and look for character. And I think that you have to be careful on that. I always tell people when I'm doing mentoring, I always say, my advice, because I think that a younger person can't, this is my opinion, a younger person can't control it because of what you said, even on a cyberbullying. Their friends do things and it comes on their wall, right? You never know nowadays where a camera is, right? Or who's going live, right?
That's true.
So I always tell them, if you're looking for a job and it's your first career job, delete your social media.
That's not bad advice.
That's just to nip it in the bud, because it's certain parts of that you can't control. And it's designed like that for a reason.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
one of the interview questions that I have for every candidate is, if I looked at your social media right now, would I hire you? I ask every candidate.
If I answer and say, man, that's my personal time.
Okay. And if that's the case, I reserve the right to disqualify you.
You tough.
I am. But you have to, when you're talking about these jobs, they have a brand to protect also.
Absolutely.
They have a brand to protect.
I totally agree.
And so, yes, if I don't want you in my business, I don't need to put you in it. And that's by putting it on a public forum, which is social media. I
agree. I agree with that. But it goes back to the point of, I think that it's both sides. If you can't manage that, whether a person say it or not, they're going to judge us off of that.
Sure.
And I think that's the only point that I was trying to make about that. Like, we can say it's personal time, it's not yours. It's you're still going to be judged on that. So I think that it is necessary for them to be informed that hurt. That's why I always tell them to discontinue it for a little while at least, until they get going with their job. We talked about careers, and we talked about excelling, and we talked about, just little nuggets to help you kind of like advance in your career. You always talk about, I always kid with you, I say, you're a lioness, but we let you in the lion's den. You know what I mean? So you're a lioness, but we let you in the lion's den. But sometimes for some men, that can be intimidating, right? Because I always say, you got a strong personality. It takes a different kind of guy to deal with you.
That's right.
But even on the corporate side too as well. So with that being said, like what's your thoughts on the lady of the house, the queen of the house, being the breadwinner? And before you start, I want to give you twofold.
Okay.
How do you feel about that? And then how do you think that, or how you still keep the male empowered if you are the breadwinner in that?
Okay.
Because we come off as providers. That's our natural, DNA.
Yeah. So that's a tough question. So I was married, as you know, before I was married to Brandon, and in my previous marriage, that was a problem in my household, if I'm allowed to be candid. And because I was in a different place and space in my career than he was still on this journey of self-discovery, whereas I felt like I was planted. I felt like I was where I was supposed to be, and I was in the place of professionally building.
Gotcha.
And I will tell you that it felt like every day that there was a competition in my house. And so how I feel about it is very difficult to be in a relationship with someone who hasn't discovered themselves. Period. Period. It is very difficult, whether that be a friendship, a marriage, or anything else. If you don't know who you are hard to be in relationship with.
That's good.
And so that was a lot of the challenge. And so it ultimately led to the demise of my marriage because
Wow.
he couldn't find himself and was trying to latch on to other things to create identity for himself. Okay, so a small piece of that was just that I was making more money than him, but that was a symptom of a larger problem. The bigger problem was he didn't know who he was or what he wanted to be when he grew up. Okay, if we fast forward to now, I'm fortunate that I'm in a relationship with a wonderful man, and there is no competition because he knows who he is. It also is not a situation where I'm making more money than him, but all of our money goes into a pot. And that's it.
That's a whole different thing, though. You know, the new era, though, is they don't put everything in the same pot.
But see, that's not for me.
Right. I just say that's good. I say that's the new little, you know, the new era is
that is not for me. I'm going to tell you, I believe in biblical principles. I know I be out here acting a fool. I do. And you know it too. I be acting a fool. But I believe in the word of God. Absolutely. And I believe in biblical principles. Absolutely. And I believe that when you get married, you are to become one.
Talk to me.
I believe in that. And I believe that when you are providing and your wife is contributing, you put that together and it's one. It's a unit. And so that's how it works in our household. And, you know, my husband is an entrepreneur. Sometimes he has wonderful months where he makes, you know, ridiculous money. But sometimes as an entrepreneur, that's not the case. But you know what? Who cares? It's going in one place.
Well, I'm gonna give you my perspective on that, and it's a little bit on what you it's a little bit on what you discussed. I think that with me, I would say it's growth for me, right? So if you go off the old, I guess, traditional way, the way they groomed men and told men this is the way you have to be, it was different, right? So through life experiences, though, what I found out in a woman is this, right? As the kids say, keep it in 100. I found out through my personal experience, ain't nobody gonna be more 100 than your spouse.
Yeah. Oh, that's
not that dude that you thought.
That's right.
Or whatever, right? And on the other side of me as being this competitor and this driven person, and I'm gonna drive, and I feel like my gift is, I always say I might have average skill, but I got phenomenal will. Right?
Oh, I love that.
So with that being said, I would always say, hey, I want to, if you're doing that well, I love you, baby, and I'm gonna support you for that, right? So then I transition into my competitive side to where I say, if you're doing that well, I'm gonna reach that level too, and we're gonna be amazing together.
Absolutely.
So that's sort of like my whole thing on that. Man, Kiyundra, like what you've brought to the table is so amazing, and I think so many people needed to hear this.
Thank you.
And I think that your success is amazing.
Thank you.
And I did say I'm a competitor, so still iron sharpens iron.
That's right.
So I want to keep you near me so I can get sharp. I want to thank you for gracing us. You've given so many nuggets to us, and I'm so appreciative that you came out and you shared this, because people need to hear this. Professionals need to hear this. They need to see the veil drop and get authentic answers, and you've given it. And I'm so humbled and I'm so appreciative, and just thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate this.
Absolutely. I always love.
Thank you.
You guys stay tuned in. More to come from the Urban Professional Podcast. Thank you.